The sound of scissors slicing through hair echoed through the crowded hallway like a gunshot. 17-year-old Autumn Reeves stood frozen as her severed ponytail fell to the floor. Blonde strands scattering across the polished tiles while 3 senior boys laughed behind her. What they didn't know was that the head cheerleader they'd just humiliated had spent 12 years training in Taekwondo, and in exactly 10 seconds, 2 of them would be bleeding on the ground with broken noses. Before we dive into what happened next, if stories like this resonate with you, stories about standing up to bullies and finding courage in the darkest moments, please consider hitting that like button and sharing your own experiences in the comments below. Your stories matter, and they help others realize they're not alone. And if you'd like to support more content that sheds light on these important issues, the thanks button below helps us reach more people who need to hear these messages of hope and strength. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps us create stories that might just give someone the courage to stand up for themselves tomorrow. Thank you for being here. And now, let's see how one girl's moment of courage changed everything. "Nice haircut, princess," Colton Bradford sneered, holding the scissors high like a trophy. The 6'3" football player's Letterman jacket stretched across his broad shoulders as he turned to his friends, basking in their approval. "Maybe now you'll think twice before rejecting me in front of the whole team." Autumn's hands trembled as she touched the jagged remains of her hair, now hanging unevenly at her shoulders. The hallway had gone silent, dozens of students frozen in place, phones already out and recording. She could feel their eyes on her, waiting to see if Riverside High's perfect cheerleader would finally crack. But beneath the shock, something else stirred. Something her grandmother had taught her in the dojo all those years ago. "Patience, child. Let them think they've won. Then show them why Korean warriors never fell." "Nothing to say." Grayson Pierce stepped closer, his basketball player height making him tower over her 5'4" frame. "Where's all that attitude from yesterday, when you told Colton he wasn't good enough for you?" "I didn't say he wasn't good enough." Autumn's voice came out steady, surprising even herself. "I said I wasn't interested. There's a difference." Easton Wells laughed, adjusting his wrestling team hoodie. "Hear that? Boys, little Miss Perfect thinks she's too good for us. Maybe we should give her another trim, even things out a bit." The scissors glinted in Colton's hand as he moved them toward her face. That's when Autumn noticed the security camera in the corner, its red light dark, of course. They'd planned this, picked the one blind spot in the entire hallway. "You know what your problem is." Colton's breath smelled like energy drinks and arrogance. "You walk around here like you own the place. Captain of the cheer squad, straight A's, full ride to state. You think that makes you special?" "No," Autumn said quietly, "but apparently you do. Otherwise, why would you care so much about one rejection?" His face flushed red. "Shut up. Is that why you've been following me for 2 weeks, showing up at my car after practice, sending those texts at 3 a.m.? She kept her voice calm, but loud enough for the growing crowd to hear. "Because I said no to one date. I said shut up." Colton grabbed her arm, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "Dude," someone whispered from the crowd, "that's assault. Mind your business." Grayson snapped at the voice. "This is between us and her." Autumn looked down at Colton's hand on her arm, then up at his face. "You have exactly 3 seconds to let go." He laughed. "Or what? You'll cheer at me aggressively, maybe do a little flip." 1. You're hilarious. What are you going to do? Tell Principal Morrison he's at a conference until Monday. 2. My dad owns half the businesses in this town. You think anyone is going to take your word over mine? 3. What happened next would later be described by witnesses as like something out of a movie. Autumn's free hand shot up, grabbing Colton's wrist in a grip that made him yelp. She pivoted on her heel, using his own momentum against him, and in one fluid motion sent him stumbling past her into the lockers. The scissors clattered to the floor. "Touch me again," she said, voice still deadly calm. "And I'll show you what 12 years of martial arts really looks like." Grayson moved first, reaching for her shoulder. "You little—" The roundhouse kick came so fast that most students only saw the aftermath. Grayson Pierce, star basketball player, on his knees with blood streaming from his nose, hands cupped over his face. "My nose," he wailed. "She broke my nose." Easton charged at her with a wrestler's instinct, going low to tackle her legs. But Autumn had sparred with bigger opponents her whole life. She sidestepped, brought her knee up, and caught him square in the face as he lunged forward. The crack was audible throughout the hallway. 2 broken noses. 2 boys on the ground. 10 seconds. Just like she'd predicted. Colton stood frozen against the lockers, scissors forgotten at his feet. "You're insane," he breathed. "You're completely insane." "No." Autumn picked up her severed ponytail from the floor, holding it like evidence. "I'm done. Done being polite while you harass me. Done pretending it's okay. Done letting you think your money and your status make you untouchable." This is assault," Grayson's voice came out muffled through his hands. "You assaulted us." "Actually," a new voice spoke up. Madison Turner stepped out from the crowd, holding up her phone. "I got the whole thing, including the part where you cut her hair without consent, grabbed her arm, and tried to attack her. She was defending herself." More phones appeared. The crowd had been recording everything. "Delete those videos," Colton demanded, but his voice had lost its earlier confidence. "I mean it. Delete them now." "Or what?" Harper Mitchell challenged. "You'll cut our hair too. You'll follow us to our cars," Brooklyn Adams added. "Send us creepy texts at 3 a.m., Savannah Cross finished. Autumn stared as more girls stepped forward. She recognized them all students from different grades, different social circles, but they all had the same look in their eyes. The look of people who'd been pushed too far. "You grabbed Phoenix's phone last week and went through her photos," one sophomore accused. "You cornered Trinity after the homecoming dance," another added. "You spread those rumors about Faith when she wouldn't go out with you," a junior said quietly. The hallway felt electric, with years of suppressed anger finally finding voice. Colton's face had gone from red to white. "Lies," he said weakly. "They're all lying." "Really?" Autumn pulled out her own phone, scrolling to her messages. "Then I guess these texts from your number are fake, too. The ones where you call me names I won't repeat out loud, where you describe what you want to do to me in graphic detail, where you threaten to ruin my life if I don't date you. You can't share private messages." Colton lunged for her phone. This time, she didn't need martial arts. Madison and Harper stepped between them, joined quickly by Brooklyn and Savannah. Then more girls and more, until a wall of students stood between Autumn and her attackers. "Not so tough when you're outnumbered, are you?" Madison said coolly. "This is ridiculous." Easton spoke through the blood streaming from his nose. "You're all going to pay for this. Our parents." "Your parents," a stern voice cut through the chaos. We'll be very interested to hear about this. Vice Principal Roberts stood at the end of the hallway, face grave. Behind her, school security officers were already moving toward Grayson and Easton. "But we're the ones who got hurt," Grayson protested, "after assaulting a student and destroying her property." Roberts replied, "I've already reviewed the cafeteria footage of you three planning this attack. You deliberately chose this spot, thinking there were no cameras. You didn't know we installed new ones last week." She pointed to a tiny dome Autumn hadn't noticed before, its red light blinking steadily. "That's impossible," Colton stammered. "That wasn't there yesterday." "No, but it was there 20 minutes ago when you assaulted Miss Reeves." Roberts turned to the security officers. "Escort these three to the office. We'll need to call their parents and the police." "The police?" Easton struggled against the officer, helping him to his feet. "For a haircut, for assault, for harassment, for conspiracy to commit battery." Roberts counted off on her fingers. "And that's just what I saw on the camera. I suspect Miss Reeves has documentation of additional incidents." Autumn nodded, still clutching her severed hair. 3 weeks' worth. Screenshots, recordings, witness statements. "You recorded us," Colton's voice cracked. "After the first time you cornered me in the parking lot." "Yes, every interaction." Autumn met his stare steadily. "My mom's a lawyer. She taught me to always document harassment." As security led the three boys away, Roberts addressed the crowd. "Anyone who has video of this incident, please email it to my office. Anyone who has experienced similar harassment from these students or others, my door is open. This ends now." The hallway erupted in whispers and movement. Students scattered to classes or pulled out phones to share what they'd witnessed. But a core group remained around Autumn. "Your hair," Savannah said softly. "I'm so sorry they did that to you." Autumn looked down at the ponytail in her hands, hair she'd been growing since middle school, hair that had taken years to get just right, gone in 2 seconds of vindictive cruelty. "It'll grow back," she said, though her voice wavered for the first time. "My mom's a hairstylist," Harper offered. "She could fix it today after school, make it look intentional, like you meant to go short." "That's really nice, merchant by cheese." "But no buts," Madison interrupted. "We've got your back, all of us." Looking around at the circle of girls, some she'd known for years, and others she'd barely spoken to, Autumn felt something shift. The isolation she'd felt since Colton started his campaign of harassment began to crack. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Phoenix asked quietly. "About the stalking and texts?" Autumn shrugged, suddenly exhausted. "I thought I could handle it. Thought if I'd just ignored him, he'd get bored and move on. I didn't want to be seen as weak." "Standing up to them isn't weak," Trinity said firmly. "What you just did, that was the strongest thing I've ever seen." "Can you teach us?" Faith asked suddenly. "The self-defense stuff." What? You just took down 3 football players like it was nothing," Hope explained. "We want to learn. All of us." Autumn looked at the eager faces surrounding her. "It's not just about the physical techniques. It's about mindset, confidence, knowing your worth." "Then teach us that too," Madison said simply, before Autumn could respond. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Then saw the preview. "You're going to regret this." "Another threat?" Harper asked, noticing her expression. Autumn showed them the message. It was from a different number than Colton's, but the writing style was familiar. As they watched, More messages poured in. You think you won. This isn't over. My dad will destroy your family. Better watch your back. He's using a burner phone, Brooklyn said, from the office while security is there. The idiot. Screenshot everything, Savannah advised. Add it to your evidence file. But the last message made Autumn's blood run cold. I know where your little sister goes to dance class. That's it, Madison said firmly. We're going to Roberts right now, all of us. This just became about more than harassment. As they walked toward the office, Autumn's phone rang. Her mom's contact photo appeared on the screen. Mom. Autumn, honey, I just got a call from the school. Are you okay? They said there was an incident. I'm fine, Mom. I'll explain everything when I get home. But maybe pick up Lily early from school today. Already on my way. And Autumn, I'm proud of you for defending yourself. We'll handle whatever comes next together. After hanging up, Autumn found herself surrounded by an even larger group. Word had spread quickly, and now boys and girls alike were following them to the office. Colton's been terrorizing people for years, one freshman boy said. Maybe now something will actually change. Don't hold your breath, a cynical senior replied. His dad's best friends with half the school board, not all of them. Roberts appeared beside them, having left the boys with security. In fact, I think you'll find several board members very interested in why their own children never reported harassment. Fear of retaliation. Perhaps. She looked meaningfully at several students, who nodded silently. How many? Roberts asked quietly. How many of you have been harassed, bullied, or threatened by those three or their friends? Slowly, hands began to rise. 5, 10, 20. By the time they stopped, over 30 students had their hands up. 32 students, Roberts said grimly. And those are just the ones brave enough to admit it here. How many more are too scared? It's not just them. A quiet voice spoke from the back. River Chen stepped forward, their usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. It's the whole culture here. The way athletes get away with everything. The way money talks louder than misconduct. The way we're taught to keep quiet and not make waves. River's right. Dakota Martinez agreed. Colton and his crew are just the worst example. But how many others operate the same way? Just more carefully. Roberts studied the growing crowd. Then perhaps it's time for a complete culture change at Riverside High, starting with a full investigation into harassment claims, anonymous reporting systems, mandatory consent and respect workshops, real consequences regardless of who your parents are. You can't do that alone, someone called out. The board will shut you down. Then we make it public, Autumn said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. The videos from today are already spreading online. My mom knows reporters from her cases. If the school board tries to sweep this under the rug, you'd risk your scholarship, Roberts asked carefully. Your reputation, Colton's family, has resources. They could make things difficult. Autumn thought about the messages, the threats against her sister, the weeks of fear and anxiety. Then she looked at the faces around her students who'd suffered in silence, afraid to speak up. Some things are worth the risk, she said firmly. And I'm done being afraid. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was her cheer coach. Emergency team meeting. Jim, now. I have to go, Autumn told the group. But this isn't over. We're going to change things, all of us, together. As she walked toward the gym, snippets of conversation followed her. Did you see how fast she moved? 2 broken noses. Finally, someone stood up to them. Think the charges will stick. Depends on their lawyers. But Autumn's mind was on the cheer meeting. Coach Williams never called emergency meetings unless something was seriously wrong. Had Colton's father already started making calls? Was she about to lose her captain position? She pushed open the gym doors to find her entire squad waiting, still in their regular clothes instead of practice gear. Coach Williams stood at the center, face unreadable. "Autumn," she said simply, "we need to talk about what happened today." "Coach, I can explain." "No need." Williams held up her phone, showing a video of the hallway incident. "I've already seen it. Multiple angles. Actually, the whole thing's gone viral." Autumn's heart sank. Viral. Hashtag Riverside Revenge. Hashtag Cheerleader Defense. Hashtag Finally Fighting Back. Williams scrolled through her phone. 15,000 shares in the last hour. News stations are calling the school. "I'm sorry," Autumn began. "I know this reflects badly on the squad." "Are you kidding?" Jade burst out. "You're a hero. Do you know how many girls from other schools are sharing this? Saying they wish they had someone like you at their school?" My phone's been blowing up," Destiny added. "Everyone wants to know if you'll teach self-defense classes." "The real question," Coach Williams said seriously, "is whether you're prepared for what comes next." Colton's father has already called the principal, the superintendent, and 3 board members. He's demanding your expulsion. Expulsion? The word hit Autumn like a physical blow. But I was defending myself. We know that. The videos prove that. But the Bradford family doesn't care about truth. They care about power. And they're going to use every bit of it to come after you. "Then we fight back," Sierra said firmly. "All of us. The whole squad." "It's not that simple," Williams warned. "They could pull funding from our program, cancel competitions, make life very difficult for everyone here." "So we're supposed to just let them win." Raven's voice was sharp with anger. "Let them keep harassing girls because their daddies have money. I'm not saying that." "No," Autumn interrupted. "Coach is right. This is my fight. I won't drag the rest of you down with me." "Too late," Phoenix said, stepping forward. "Grayson cornered me after states last year. Tried to force himself on me in the parking lot. I never reported it because I knew nothing would happen. Easton spread lies about me after I turned him down," Faith admitted. "Said I was sleeping with half the football team. The rumors followed me for months." One by one. More cheerleaders shared their stories. The coach's face grew darker with each revelation. 11, she said finally. 11 of my 18 girls have been harassed by those 3 boys, and not one of you told me." "What could you have done?" Trinity asked sadly. "You're not the one who decides punishments. You're not on the school board. You would have tried to help, and they would have gotten you fired." Williams sank onto the bleachers. When did it become this bad? When did we start accepting that teenage boys can terrorize girls without consequences? When we decided their futures mattered more than our safety? Autumn said quietly. The gym doors burst open. Principal Morrison strode in, face flushed and tie askew despite being supposedly at a conference. Behind him walked 3 men in expensive suits, lawyers. Clearly. "Miss Reeves," Morrison's voice was cold. "You need to come with us. Now." "She's not going anywhere without representation." Coach Williams stood. "And why are you back from your conference so suddenly?" "Richard, the conference was cancelled," he said stiffly. "Due to this situation. Miss Reeves, you're being placed on immediate suspension pending investigation." "Investigation of what?" Autumn asked, defending myself. "Investigation of excessive force against 3 students." One of the lawyers spoke up, resulting in serious injuries requiring medical attention. "They assaulted her first," Jade protested. "Allegedly," the lawyer corrected smoothly. "We'll need to review all evidence carefully. In the meantime, Miss Reeves is to leave school property immediately." "This is ridiculous," Williams said. The videos show a trained martial artist attacking students who posed no real threat." Morrison interrupted. "The Bradford family is considering pressing charges for assault with a deadly weapon." "Deadly weapon?" Autumn almost laughed. "My feet. You are trained in Taekwondo. Are you not black belt? According to your college applications, that training makes your hands and feet legally considered weapons in some jurisdictions." The absurdity of it all hit Autumn like a wave. They were really going to try to flip this around, make her the villain because she'd fought back successfully. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. "Don't say anything. Lawyer en route. I'm 5 minutes away." "I'm calling my mom," Autumn announced. "That won't be necessary," Morrison began. "Actually, it's entirely necessary." A new voice rang through the gym. A woman in a sharp business suit entered, her heels clicking authoritatively on the floor. "Veronica Chase, attorney at law. I represent Miss Reeves, and you, Principal Morrison, are about to violate several of my client's civil rights if you continue down this path." Autumn had never seen her before, but the lawyers with Morrison clearly had. They exchanged worried glances. "Now then," Chase continued, pulling out her phone. "I've already reviewed the footage, the witness statements, and, most interestingly, the pattern of complaints against the 3 alleged victims that your administration has systematically ignored. Would you like to discuss this reasonably? Or shall we proceed directly to the lawsuits?" "Lawsuits," Morrison paled. "Title IX violations, failure to provide a safe learning environment, negligent supervision, deliberate indifference to known harassment." Chase smiled sharply. "I can keep going. The Bradford family isn't the only one with resources, Principal Morrison. And unlike them, we have the truth on our side." The standoff lasted several tense seconds. Finally, Morrison spoke through gritted teeth. "Miss Reeves is not suspended, but this matter is far from over." "On that, we agree completely," Chase said pleasantly, "because my client will be filing formal complaints against Colton Bradford, Grayson Pierce, and Easton Wells for assault, harassment, stalking, and creating a hostile educational environment. We'll also be investigating why previous complaints were ignored and whether certain administrative figures received any incentives to look the other way." Morrison's face went from pale to flushed. "Are you implying—" "I'm not implying anything. Yet." Chase turned to Autumn. "Your mother is waiting outside. I suggest we continue this conversation in a more appropriate venue." As they walked toward the exit, Autumn heard Morrison hiss to the lawyers, "Fix this, now!" But she also heard something else, the sound of her squad falling into formation behind her. Not in their usual perfect lines, but as a united front. 18 girls walking together, heads high, no longer afraid. "Autumn," Sierra called out, "practice tomorrow." She turned back, seeing the determination in their faces. 6 a.m. sharp, and bring your workout gear. We're adding self-defense to our routine." The smile that spread across their faces was worth whatever came next. As Autumn stepped into the hallway, she found it packed with students. Word had spread about Morrison's attempted suspension, and they'd gathered in silent support. "Riverside strong," someone shouted. The chant spread like wildfire. "Riverside strong, Riverside strong." But Autumn noticed who wasn't chanting the other athletes. The wealthy kids. the ones who benefited from the current power structure. They watched from the edges, faces dark with resentment. This was far from over. The real battle was just beginning. The death threat arrived at 2:17 a.m., slipped under Autumn's bedroom door while her family slept. She'd been awake anyway, reviewing legal documents with her mother, when the white envelope appeared in the crack of light from the hallway. The message inside was simple: "Drop the charges or your sister dies at tomorrow's recital." Autumn's hands didn't shake this time. She photographed the note, texted it to Attorney Chase, and woke her parents. By 3 a.m., police cruisers surrounded their house and Lily's dance studio was under surveillance. By 4 a.m., the FBI had joined the investigation, threatening a minor crossed into federal territory. By 6 a.m., when Autumn arrived at school for cheer practice, news vans lined the parking lot. "The Bradford family has released a statement," Sierra said, showing her phone as they stretched in the gym. "They're calling you a violent vigilante who attacked their son unprovoked." "They're also claiming the death threat is fake," Jade added. "Said you're manufacturing evidence for attention." Autumn continued her warm-up routine, externally calm while rage simmered beneath. "Let them talk. The FBI doesn't investigate fake threats." Speaking of which, Coach Williams entered with a serious expression. Principal Morrison just announced mandatory assembly first period. Something about addressing the recent disciplinary incidents. Translation: damage control, Raven muttered. The assembly was a masterclass in manipulation. Morrison stood at the podium, flanked by school board members, painting a picture of isolated incidents being blown out of proportion by social media hysteria. Riverside High has always prided itself on being a safe, inclusive environment, he declared. "We cannot let the actions of a few students tarnish our reputation." "Notice how he doesn't mention which students," Madison whispered from beside Autumn. But Morrison's next words made Autumn's blood freeze. "Therefore, effective immediately, we are implementing a zero-tolerance policy on violence. Any student engaging in physical altercations, regardless of circumstances, will face immediate expulsion." The meaning was clear: fight back against harassment, lose everything. "Furthermore," Morrison continued, "we're suspending all extracurricular activities pending review of their safety protocols. This includes sports teams and cheerleading." Gasps rippled through the auditorium. Autumn felt her squad tense around her. "This is retaliation," Harper hissed. Morrison wasn't done. "We're also requiring parental supervision at all school events and implementing strict social media guidelines. Any student posting content that damages the school's reputation will face disciplinary action." "He's trying to silence us," Brooklyn realized. That's when Autumn stood up. "Excuse me, Principal Morrison," her voice carried across the silent auditorium. "Are you saying that if someone assaults us, we can't defend ourselves without being expelled?" "Sit down, Miss Reeves," Morrison commanded. "It's a simple question." Autumn remained standing. "If Colton Bradford cuts off another girl's hair, if Grayson Pierce corners someone in a parking lot, if Easton Wells spreads revenge porn, are we supposed to just take it? Those are serious allegations. They're not allegations." Phoenix stood up beside Autumn. "They're facts. I have the texts. The photos he took without permission. The messages threatening to share them if I didn't comply. I have recordings." Trinity rose next. "Of Easton describing exactly what he wanted to do to me, in detail, for refusing to be his homecoming date." One by one, students began standing. Not just girls now, boys who'd been bullied, intimidated, forced into silence by the social hierarchy. 37 complaints filed in the last 24 hours, Vice Principal Roberts announced from the side door, holding a thick folder. All documented, all ignored by previous administrations. I've copies for every board member. Morrison's face went purple. Roberts, you're overstepping. No, Richard, I'm doing my job. The job you've failed to do for 5 years. She turned to the school board. Every one of you needs to read these, especially you, Mrs. Bradford. Your son features prominently. How dare you, Mrs. Bradford began. Page 47. Roberts interrupted. Your son's detailed plan to drug a classmate at homecoming. His friend talked him out of it, but the messages are all there. The auditorium erupted, parents demanding answers, students sharing stories, board members looking panicked. That's when the fire alarm went off. Everyone remain calm, Morrison shouted over the noise. Single file to the exits. But Autumn had already spotted the problem. Smoke was beginning to seep under the auditorium doors. Real smoke. This wasn't a drill. The exits are blocked, someone screamed from the back. Panic spread instantly. 1,100 students pushing, shoving, trying to reach doors that wouldn't open. Autumn jumped onto a chair, using her cheer captain voice. Stop, everyone! Stop! Miraculously, they listened. Basketball team, you're tallest. Boost people to the windows. Cheer squad. You're helping them up. Drama club. You know the backstage exits. Lead groups that way. Stay low. Cover your faces. And move in ordered lines. Now, the organized chaos that followed saved lives. Students helping students. Natural leaders emerging while administrators stood frozen. Autumn coordinated from her chair until the smoke grew too thick, then dropped down to help boost smaller students to windows. That's when she saw him, Colton Bradford, standing by the blocked main exit with a satisfied smirk. He'd pulled the fire alarm. He'd blocked the doors. He was watching the panic with enjoyment. You did this, she accused, fury overriding safety concerns. Prove it, he sneered. Just like you can't prove that threat was real. Just like you can't prove anything. My family owns this town, including the judges. Your family owns nothing anymore. Attorney Chase appeared through the smoke, flanked by federal agents. Colton Bradford, you're under arrest for making terroristic threats, arson, and attempted mass murder. But I didn't. Your burner phone was traced. Your fingerprints are on the door locks. And that conversation you just had, recorded by federal agents. Chase smiled coldly. Your father's money can't buy you out of federal prison. The next few minutes blurred together. FBI agents arresting Colton. Firefighters breaking down doors. Students evacuating safely thanks to Autumn's quick organization. News cameras catching everything. By the time everyone gathered on the football field, the narrative had shifted completely. Principal Morrison stood in handcuffs next to Colton, apparently. The FBI had found evidence of bribes on his office computer. Mrs. Bradford was screaming about lawsuits while being questioned about her knowledge of her son's activities. You saved us, a freshman told Autumn. Tears streaming down her face. When everyone was panicking, you saved us. We saved each other, Autumn corrected, watching her classmates support one another on the field. Veronica Chase approached with a satisfied expression. The Bradford family's assets have been frozen pending investigation. Turns out Colton's father has been bribing officials across the county, not just at school. The entire power structure is crumbling. What happens now? Autumn asked. Now real change. Roberts is being promoted to principal. The school board is being reformed with actual parent and student representation, and you, as Chase smiled. You're going to have your pick of colleges. Your story's gone national. Harvard's admissions office called. They're very interested in students who show real leadership under pressure. I don't want to be famous, Autumn said quietly. You're not famous. You're an example. Every girl who's been told to stay quiet, to not make waves, to just accept harassment, they're seeing that fighting back is possible. 3 months later, Autumn stood in the renovated gym teaching her 43rd self-defense class. The program had expanded from just cheerleaders to include over 200 students, with volunteer instructors from local dojos joining to help. Remember, she told the eager faces, this isn't about violence, it's about confidence. Knowing you can protect yourself changes how you walk, how you talk, how you carry yourself. Predators look for easy targets. Don't be one. Show us the move you used on Grayson, someone called out. Autumn smiled. First rule, we don't fight for show. We fight to survive and escape. But she demonstrated the roundhouse kick in slow motion. The key is rotation from the hip. Power comes from your core, not your leg. After class, River Chen approached. Principal Roberts wants to see you. Something about a special announcement at tomorrow's assembly. The next morning, the auditorium was packed again. But this time, the energy was different, hopeful instead of hostile. Roberts stood at the podium with actual warmth in her expression. 6 months ago, this school was broken, she began. A culture of fear allowed predators to thrive while victims suffered in silence. It took incredible courage from one student to begin changing that. Autumn Reeves, would you please come up here? Autumn walked to the stage, confused but composed. The school board has unanimously voted to create the Autumn Reeves Courage Award, Roberts announced. Given annually to students who stand up against injustice, who protect others, and who embody the spirit of positive change. The applause was deafening, but Roberts wasn't done. We're also announcing the Riverside Guardian Program, peer mentors trained in conflict resolution and basic self-defense, stationed throughout the school to ensure no student ever feels helpless again. Miss Reeves has agreed to help train the first group of guardians over the summer. Autumn looked out at the audience, her squad, her self-defense students, the quiet kids who'd found their voices, the former bullies learning better ways. Colton was serving 5 years in juvenile detention. Grayson and Easton had transferred schools after accepting plea deals. Morrison faced trial for corruption. But more importantly, the hallways felt safe. Girls walked without fear. Boys learned respect. Teachers actually taught instead of managing chaos. Thank you, Autumn said simply into the microphone, but I didn't do this alone. Every person who stood up, who spoke truth, who refused to be silenced, we did this together. And we're not done. This is just the beginning. As she returned to her seat, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, but this time, it wasn't a threat. It was from a girl in Texas who'd seen her story. Because of you, I reported my attacker today. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone. Autumn smiled, tucking her phone away. Her hair had grown back, styled in a pixie cut that had become something of a symbol at Riverside. 3 other girls had cut their hair in solidarity, turning Colton's act of violence into a badge of courage. Hey, Autumn, Mason called out as the assembly ended. My little sister starts here next year. I told her about you, about the Guardian program. She said she wants to be just like you. Tell her she doesn't need to be like me, Autumn replied. Tell her to be herself, just braver than she thinks she can be. As students filed out, chattering about tryouts for the Guardian program, Autumn caught sight of her reflection in the trophy case. The scared girl from 6 months ago was gone. In her place stood someone who'd learned that real strength wasn't about fighting, it was about standing up when everyone else wanted you to stay down. And sometimes, just sometimes, one person standing up was all it took to help others find their feet too. The revolution at Riverside High hadn't ended with violence or lawsuits or federal investigations. It had ended with something far more powerful, a generation of students who would never again accept that might makes right, that money buys silence, or that harassment is just boys being boys. It had ended with hope. Beside her stood Emma Winters, the teacher whose own battle against school bullies had sparked a nationwide movement. "Ready?" Emma asked, adjusting her blazer. "Born ready," Autumn replied, the same words she'd said before that fateful confrontation in the hallway. They walked into the Senate chamber together, two women who'd refused to be victims, whose stories had converged to create something unprecedented. The room was packed with senators, advocates, and survivors from schools across America. Senator Mitchell stood at the podium. "Today, we vote on Emma's Law, comprehensive anti-bullying legislation that will protect students in every school in America. This law exists because two brave women, Emma Winters and Autumn Reeves, showed us that courage is contagious." The vote was unanimous, 97-0. As applause thundered through the chamber, Autumn thought about all the students who would never have to choose between their dignity and their safety. The Guardian programs had spread to over 300 schools. Her self-defense workshops had trained thousands, but more importantly, the culture was shifting. Her phone buzzed with a text I'd wanked from Madison, her little sister, now a freshman at Riverside. "Watched the vote in class. Everyone cheered. Colton's crew would never survive here now. We don't let bullies win anymore." Outside the Capitol, reporters waited. "Miss Reeves, what's your message to students facing harassment?" Autumn looked directly into the cameras, knowing scared kids across the country were watching. "You're stronger than you know. Find your people. Document everything. And remember, standing up isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about making sure the next person doesn't have to fight alone." Change hadn't come from violence or revenge. It had come from one 17-year-old girl who decided that losing her hair was a small price to pay for keeping her dignity, and in doing so, helped millions find theirs.